to 2007. He was born and raised in Rameswaram, Tamil Nadu, and had studied physics and aerospace engineering. He spent the next 4 decades as a scientist and science administrator, mainly at the Defense Research Development Organization, DRDO, and Indian Space Research Organization, and was intimately involved in Indian civilian space program and missile development efforts. He thus came to be known as the Missile Man of India for his work on the development of missile and launch vehicle technology. Dr. Kalam was elected as the 11th President of India in the year 2002, and he is widely referred to as a People's President. He returned to his civilian life of education, writing, and public service after his presidential term. He was a recipient of several prestigious awards, including the Bharat Ratna, India's highest civilian honor. Today is also the World Food Day, declared by the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. And the main objective of FAO is to heighten the public awareness on the problem of hunger, malnutrition, and poverty, as well as focus attention on agriculture and food production. The theme for this year is Safe Food Now for a Healthy Tomorrow. And the theme for this year is based on appreciating the individuals who have contributed to creating sustainable surroundings where no one is left hungry. So let us move ahead. But before we proceed, there are certain ground rules that we all should keep in mind. All participants, if possible, should name themselves and retain this identity. Keep your videos on as far as possible. This will encourage the presenters and the speakers. Make sure there are no background noises that causes disturbance during the meeting. And of course, keep your mobile device in the silent mode. For everybody's information, this meeting is recorded and is also broadcast live on the SIF YouTube channel. As we speak, this is happening right now. May I now request everybody to rise for the national anthems of Qatar and India, and I request Sujata ji to play it. Sujata ji.
You need to stop sharing your screen, Ravi. You are on mute, Ravi ji.
Can you override it, because I will need from here the presentation. Just try it, it will override.
Sujata ji, you can do now.
Just a second, please. Sorry.
Can you share your screen, Sujata?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have stopped sharing.
قسما بمن رفع السماء، قسما بمن نشر الضياء، قطر ستبقى حرة تسمو بروح الأوفياء. سيروا على جبلا سيروا، وعلى ضياء الأنبياء. قطر بقلب سيرة عز وأمجاد الإباء. قطر الرجال الأولين، حماتنا يوم النداء، وحمائم يوم السلام. رفع السماء قسما بمن نشر الضياء وطن ستبقى حرة تسمو بروح الأوفياء.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Let me now invite our SIF President, Mr. Deepak Dahake, to make his welcome address. Over to you, President.
Dignitaries, community leaders, researchers, principals, teachers, professionals, and science lovers. A very good evening to you all. On behalf of Science India Forum Qatar, I welcome you to today's celebration event. This event is being organized under the theme Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav to commemorate 75 years of independence of progressive India. We are remembering India's beloved former president, a visionary, great scientist and missile man, Bharat Ratna Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, on his birth anniversary. He was a symbol of simplicity, compassionate, most humble but strong enough, epitome of intellect, scientist par excellence. Today's program is also special as we are celebrating World Food Day. Every year on 16th October, World Food Day is being celebrated to mark the anniversary of the founding of the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO of the United Nations, to promote global awareness regarding food security. Natural resources and climate factors are the main drivers in food production. Food security involves entire food value chain. In Gulf countries, more thrust is being given on the domestic self-sufficiency, local production, organic farming, international trade and logistics, strategic reserves, warehouses, and quality monitoring and control for better nutrition. It is estimated that world needs sustainable agri-food systems that are capable of nourishing 10 billion people by 2050. Industrial Revolution 4.0 focuses on sustainable food production with smart factories in processing and preservation. Today's session on desert agriculture and food security is pertinent with the current situation. I must mention our patron, His Excellency Dr. Deepak Mittal, the Ambassador of India to Qatar, is fully supporting and guiding Science India from Qatar. Due to some urgent work, His Excellency is out of Doha and couldn't attend this function. However, he nominated Mr. Sachin Dinkar Shankapalji, First Secretary, Education and Culture, on his behalf. We are indeed privileged to welcome Mr. Sachin Dinkar Shankapal, First Secretary, Education and Culture, as our chief guest. On behalf of Science India Forum and all present here, I take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to our chief guest. Thank you, Sachinji, for gracing this occasion. We feel honored to have Dr. O.P. Yadav, Director, ICAR Central Arid Zone Research Institute, Jodhpur, India, as a guest of honor and eminent speaker on the topic. Please join me in welcoming Dr. O.P. Yadav. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation, and we look forward to your enlightening speech. We have another distinguished personality as a guest of honor, Dr. Omar Farooq Bukreis, Senior Manager of Energy and Environment, Qatar National Research Fund. Dr. Omar, your gracious presence in today's event means a lot to us, and we wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. Thank you, and we look forward to your insightful presentation. To enlighten us on the life lessons from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and his contribution, we feel honored to have SIF founder, member, and advisor, Mr. Shashidharanji. I humbly welcome Shashidharanji to this program. On behalf of Science India Forum Qatar, I welcome and recognize the cordial presence of embassy officials, dignitaries, and researchers attending from India, president of apex bodies and associated organizations, dignitaries from Qatar Foundation, academicians, researchers, SIF GCC Joint Secretary, Mr. Abgaji, and executive committee members of SIF chapters in Gulf region, school principals, community leaders, sponsors, teachers, professionals, and as well as students. Once again, I welcome you all. We are indebted to the support and guidance from all well-wishers and sincerely acknowledge and thank Indian Embassy, ICC, Qatar Foundation, Science Department of Ministry of Education, Qatar, Ministry of Municipality and Environment, MME, Qatar, all Indian and international schools, sponsors. And on this occasion, I wish better nutrition, better nourishment, better health, and better life for all. Wish you a happy World Food Day. And now I request SIF Secretary, Mrs. Sujata Gokhale, to play a short video on SIF activities. Thank you all.
Over to you, Mr. Ravi.
Okay, now we move on to our chief guest for today. So the chief guest for today is Mr. Sachin Dinkar Shankapal. He is the first secretary, Education and Culture, Embassy of India, Qatar. He has been kind enough to take up this role and we are very grateful to him. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Sachin Dinkar Shankapal, to say a few words on this occasion.
Sir, you are on mute. Sachin, sir. No. Yes, I think now you are on
Am I
mute.
audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Dr. Yadav. Good evening, Dr. Omar, SIF Qatar President, recently, all the respected dignitaries, Presidency, and all the participants of the webinar. It's indeed a privilege to attend this event, and on behalf of Embassy of India, Qatar, I extend my warm greetings to all, my gratitude to all of you for not only identifying such topics, but also taking it ahead. And I must put it on record that SIS Qatar has been quite consistent in its role in bringing out all the new topics and important topics from the science perspective in front of the community here as well as in India. I take this opportunity to also underline that uh, this could not have been, there could not have been a more appropriate day apart from Dr. Bharat Ratna, Dr. Kalam's birth anniversary to have this very topic to be discussed. As we all know, that Dr. Kalam, being a science person himself, scientist himself, always oriented his research and his thoughts towards the well-being of the community, the challenges faced by the community, and more so the future challenges. We, as we all know, the topic which our experts will be discussing today, the desert agriculture and food security. We all know that it's a sort of race against time. This is a very, very much needed and critical technology which should be looked into, and we need, because as the population will grow, the resources uh, will be uh, utilized. This technology will definitely uh, uh, much required in the future, maybe in next like 20, 30, 40 years. Uh, we'll have lots of path-breaking researches on this technology as well. In the words of Dr. Abdul Kalam, if I would say, he had identified five core areas of India's core competence, in which he had mentioned it. The first was agriculture, and another one was self-reliance on the critical technology. So these two are up here. I once again sincerely congratulate SIS Qatar for not only identifying the areas which need to be discussed in this community society, but also uh, developing uh, with, with the help of such webinars and such work, developing scientific center among our future generations as well. which will take us to the better and more sustainable environment and world. With these words and warm regards from Embassy of India, I would like to conclude my speech and also looking forward to hear our experts. Thank you so much, Deepak ji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sachin ji, for those insights. I now invite our SIF founder, member, and advisor, Mr. Shashidharan, to speak a few words on Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Sir, you are muted. Sir, can you unmute?
Post is not allowed. In the post allowed.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay,
You can
sorry
speak.
for that. Chief guest, Mr. Sachin Dinkar Sangbal ji, First Secretary, Education and Culture, Embassy of India, Qatar, Dr. O.P. Yadav, Director, ICAR, Central Horizon Research Institute, Jodhpur, India, Dr. Omar Bakris, Senior Manager, Energy and Environment, Qatar, National Research Fund, Sri Abgaji, DCC Secretary of Science India Forum, Sri Deepak Dake, President, Science India Forum, Qatar, dignitaries, our beloved supporters, scientists, principals, teachers, parents, and my dear students. Good evening to you all. Today, with great respect, we are celebrating the 90th birth anniversary of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. To honor the legacy of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, October 15, his birth anniversary day, is celebrated as World Students' Day. Dr. Abdul Kalam is a name very close to my heart. I'm sure all of you assembled here love and admire Dr. Abdul Kalam. He was born in a middle-class family of Rameshwaram, a village in Tamil Nadu. When he was young, he used to distribute newspaper in the temple city of Rameshwaram in order to support his family. He became a great scientist. He had an unparalleled career as a defense scientist and played a leading role in the development of Indian missile and nuclear weapons program. He was also known as Missile Man of India. He was the recipient of Bharat Ratna, highest civilian award of Republic of India in 1997. He was former President of India. When somebody asked, how he wanted to be remembered, he told he wanted to be remembered as a teacher. He was so passionate of teaching. The second day after retirement from presidency, he flew to Chennai and started teaching in classroom. He always maintained good rapport with students. He never missed out an opportunity to interact with and motivate students. His motivational resolutions are very famous. He often advised, dream, dream, dream. Dream transform into thoughts, and thoughts results in action. A dream is not that which you see while sleeping. It is something that does not let you sleep. He never thought about what I can get. He always thought about what I can give, how to contribute more and more to society. He was not looking for opportunities in his life, but always looking for challenges. He passed away on July 27, 2015 at Indian Institute of Management, Shillong, while interacting with students. His life and mission will inspire many generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now move on to the main event of tonight, which is a presentation by Dr. O.P. Yadav, Director, ICAR Central Arid Zone Research Institute, Jodhpur, India. He is a former director of the Indian Institute of Maize Research, New Delhi, fellow of the most prestigious Indian National Science Academy and National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, over 30 years of experience in agricultural research and management. His strategic research on understanding of crop adaptation to drought stress environments has been recognized as at international level. His research efforts led to release of 11 commercial cultivars, a plant variety produced by selective breeding, including biofortified hybrids. He has taken several initiatives to enhance the development and adoption of new agricultural technologies for the benefit of farming community at international level. He has more than 200 publications to his credit in some of the most reputed journals, including Nature. Dr. Yadav has a rigorous exposure at international level, and his scientific accomplishments have been recognized at international and national levels. He has been trained at the Harvard School of Business, Boston, Cornell University, Ithaca, and Institute of Grassland Environmental Research, Aberystwyth University, United Kingdom. He is the recipient of Rafi Ahmad Kidwai Award for Outstanding Research in Agricultural Sciences, the highest reward for contribution in agriculture in India. Ladies and gentlemen, please join your hands together to welcome Dr. O.P. Yadav for his presentation on farming in Thar Desert, Indian experience of enhancing resilience and productivity. Over to you, Dr. Sir.
Let me just confirm, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Chief guest of today's program, Mr. Sachin Dinkar Sankappa, who is First Secretary, Education and Culture, Embassy of India. SIF President, Mr. Deepak Dahake. Mr. Ravi Kumar Narayan. Mr. Ebga, with whom I was corresponding earlier. Mr. Shashidharan, the founder member of SIF Qatar. Other participants in this program. My colleagues from the Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening once again. And I'm truly humbled and honored to be part of this program in this evening. While I'm able to connect with you, sitting several thousand kilometers away from you, but we are working at a common platform thanks to this technology. And in fact, in India, you're also aware that we are celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and we entered 75th year of India's independence, and we will be completing 75 years on 15th August 2022. Taking initiative from the call of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, the Indian Council of Agriculture Research made a decision, a conscious decision, which is being implemented now, to invite all experts across the globe to address the Indian public, Indian scientific fraternity on the different areas of their expertise. That includes not only science, but also other areas of development, spirituality, social services, etc., etc. In a similar program, today, just 2 hours before the start of this program, where we are meeting virtually, we had a very interesting program of 2 hours in which 6 World Food Laureates were invited by the DG, Director General of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, which include Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, which is a well-known figure at global level, Dr. Gurdev Singh Khush, again a World Food Laureate in 1996, Dr. Howard Boyce, Dr. S.K. Vassal, with whom I have been fortunate enough to work for some time when I was leading the Indian Institute of Maize Research, and also Professor Ratan Lal, who was given World Food Prize 2020. And he happens to be a great Indian scientist who has been recognized at the global level. And 3 years back, he visited our institute. And when we showcased our achievements in the desert, that was really a kind of great satisfaction, not only for him, but for all my colleagues as well. So it's a great honor for me to be part of this function. And when you add the name of Bharat Ratna Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam on any platform, I think the speakers or the participants are so much honored that this is one of the best things that can happen to a educated or other people across the globe. And when you add another feature of today, that around 73 years before from today, the Food and Agriculture Organization, the first UN agency, was born. So to speak on this occasion, which is just one day after the initiation of the birth anniversary centenary of APJ Abdul Kalam, and on the birthday of FAO, it's a great honor for me. And when I got a call from Deepak Dahake, who is president of SIF, and he actually asked me whether I will be able to speak something on the desert agriculture. Deepak, let me tell you that this is a very tempting proposal for anybody to speak, especially for those people who are working in other parts of the desert. I know all of you are also working in the desert, but as your specialization might be very different. But we, being the agricultural scientist and working in one of the very unique deserts of the world, and then I thought that it will be a matter of great privilege for me and for my institute as well to share some of the experiences that we have learned over past few decades. And I must thank the Science Innovation Forum for inviting me, and I'm really thankful to all of you. I would like to make a small presentation on the topic that is already introduced by Mr. Ravi Kumar, and let me share my presentation.
Can you share it, sir?
Yes, I'm
Or
doing it.
Okay.
No
There is
issue.
no, I think you are the co-host, so there should be no technical issue.
Shouldn't be. Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, let me maximize it. So I will be sharing the Indian experience of working in Thar Desert, how the farming has progressed, and how the resilience and the productivity has been increased for a period of time. And this is the sequence in which I will be moving through my presentation. I will share with you the current status of India's food production, because food, all of us, we need 3 times a day, and we must learn and we must appreciate whatever has been done to make this world or any country food and nutritional secure. Then I will be sharing with you what are the special features of the Thar Desert in which we are currently located and working here, and the challenges and opportunities that are basically part and parcel of arid regions, and what is our guiding principle to enhance resilience as well as productivity. And I'm sure the other speaker of today, Dr. Omar Bokris, will be particularly interested in knowing the experience working in Thar Desert of India, Thar Desert part of India, and then I will conclude some of the important things. If you look at this data, that India has got 2% of the world area, geographical area, I mean, 4% of the world water, and it has to support 17% of the world human population. And top of that, 18% of the world livestock population. So the first message that we get when we look at this data, that there's a huge amount of imbalance between the natural resources that are available in our country and the kind of the human and livestock population we need to support on these limited amount of the natural resources. But for the last 74 years, India has been transformed quite comprehensively, and India has been transformed from food deficit country to food surplus country. Seeds of this were sown in the form of Green Revolution in mid-1960s, which could be witnessed because of improved technology, supported by the enabling policies of the government, having a very strong political will to take some of the ideas completely out of the box and doing certain things that were never tried before. So that was the indication of the strong political will. And the partnership, the Indian Agriculture Research Program, with the remaining program of the world. So that shows the power of the partnership in sowing the seeds of the Green Revolution. And on top of everything, the most important thing, according to my own assessment, was the farmers' willingness and the enthusiasm to embrace the new technology, new development, for the simple 2 reasons: that there were very good economic returns in adoption of those technologies, and those returns very quick. Once you adopt a technology now, and if you harvest the crop after 4 or 5 months, you get the return immediately. So all these combination of the factors were able to sow the seeds for the Green Revolution. And if we have a look what has happened in the last 70 years or so, we started with only 55 million tons of the food. And in 2021, this figure has changed to 308 million tons. 6 times increase in the food production. And let me remind all of you that this food production, 6 times food production has been achieved on a 2% less land that was available in 1955. So this is the most important achievement in the sense that the 6 times using the same resources, 2% land, 4% water. And when we compare ourselves, then we will find out that whatever commodity we take, wheat, rice, pulses, nutricereals, we as a country in India are occupying top 3 positions of every commodity that we are producing. For example, wheat and rice, we are the second largest producer. In case of the pulses and nutricereals, we are the first producer. And also, not only this interesting food basket has been expanded for the last 7 decades or so in form of the Green Revolution and its after effects. There have been several other revolutions. White Revolution, which we call increased milk production. There has been 12 times increase in the milk production. And in case of the Golden Revolution, which comes as a part of the increased horticulture production, since 1991, 4 times increase in the production. And in case of the Blue Revolution, which is fish production, since 1951, we have increased the fish production by 19 times. So this is not only the Green Revolution, but white, golden, and blue as well. When we talk of the arid areas in which you are sitting at this point of time and where we are working at this point of time, this represents basically 42% within the dry lands. And out of these 42%, you can see the spread of the arid regions in this world map. And you are here somewhere, and we are here. And see the whole belt, the sweat of this belt across the globe. This is really a typical arid areas, the basic definition of which is that we are losing more out of the evapotranspiration or evaporation rather than getting the water in forms of the rains. Arid regions in India are very widespread. They cover around 12% of the geographical area of the country. They are largely located in the northwestern part. Rajasthan and Gujarat, they cover 80% of the arid areas. This is a hot arid area. Cold arid regions are also part of the Himachal Pradesh, Jammu Kashmir, and which is now a union territory, and also union territory of Leh and Ladakh. This is very challenging ecosystem. You know it very well, primarily because of the climatic stresses. We don't get rainfall. We get less than 450 millimeters, which is almost 4 times higher than what you get in Qatar. In Qatar, the average rainfall across the country is around 100 millimeters. But still, we are far better than what you get in Qatar, because we are getting on an average from 300 to 450 millimeters of the rainfall in the different parts of the areas. On top of that, the extreme temperatures, the temperature that you get in Qatar, around between 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, and the wind velocity is very high, and our soils are very sandy. And on top of that, if you look at the data over here, for every 100 people in arid Rajasthan, there are 124 livestock. So which you can say there's a more number of the livestock in this part of the country than the human being. And all of this increased biotic pressure because of the increased human population and the livestock population, we are prone to desertification. Agriculture or farming in this part of the country is very risky, very risky. Productivity is very low, and because of the climate change, Ravi Kumar mentioned, and also our chief guest also mentioned that the climate change is really providing us a huge amount of challenge, offering us huge amount of challenge for the future. But there are certain good things in Thar Desert, the Indian part of the Thar Desert, which is we are having a very rich biodiversity. In contrast to what you have got in Qatar, we have a lot of vegetation, lot of crops, lot of livestock, and solar radiation you get as much as we get in northwestern part of the India. But one of the most important feature of this part of the desert is we have Indira Gandhi Nehar Pariyojana. This is one of the largest man-made canal in the world. And this has really transformed the Thar Desert. I will come to this part a little bit later on. So when you ask me what is the approach our country has followed in enhancing the resilience, because resilience has to be increased to decrease the vulnerability to the adverse climatic conditions, and also to face the challenges or to lessen the effect of the adverse climatic conditions. Basically, we are working on the to strengthen the 4 pillars. First of them is augmenting water resources of the Thar Desert. Another is building upon the traditional knowledge, how to combine the science of today with the traditional knowledge of the yesterday. This is the ideal combination, so that you can take advantage of science, but also at the same time, you do not forget, you don't tend to overlook what we have learned over several thousand, at least a couple of thousands of the years of human habitation in Thar Desert. Then we try to enhance the adaptive capacity of the farming community, and we are working to harness the natural strength of the Thar Desert of the Indian part. Let me share with you how we are trying to augment water resources. I understand the water resources much low in Qatar, in spite of it's being surrounded by the sea from all the sides. But the seawater is really very rich in the salt content. And let me share with you what we are doing in the Thar Desert. First is that, as I mentioned, the IGNP. It was brought, the water from the Himalayan mountains. It was brought in 1952 to the Thar Desert of India. The total length of the canal, when it enters into Rajasthan, western part from the Punjab, the total length is 650 kilometers, and it touches the 7 most dry districts of Rajasthan. Almost 50 years after this canal, there is another canal which has been brought from the Gujarat. It's Narmada Canal project, and it is again more than 500 kilometers, but large part of it is running across the dry part of Gujarat, and some part of it is in the dry parts of Rajasthan. Then use of groundwater. Fortunately, a little bit better condition that what you get in Qatar, that we have a groundwater availability from 200 feet onwards. Over a period of time, it has been exploited to a great extent, and number of the tube wells has increased 4 times in Western Rajasthan, thanks to the rural electrification and the priority government of India has set in this part of the country. And out of this intervention, additional more than 1 million hectare has been brought additional in the irrigation through the tube wells. Another very important feature is we are combining solar power to increase the water productivity. Water is made available because of these top 3 interventions. Government is supporting to enhance water use efficiency, to promote through promotion of the drip irrigation and use of the solar panels, to use that water for irrigating the crops. And there are certain conditions, and farmers are really basically adopting this. There's another very comprehensive priority in a scheme which is known as the Chief Minister Water Self-Sufficiency Mega Project, Mukhyamantri Jal Swavalamban Yojana. it has been effective, very, very effective in the last decade or so. And very recently, on the 7th of October 2021, which means exactly 1 week before, the Government of India launched Heliborne survey to map additional water resources. And fortunately, the launching has been done from Jodhpur in an institute which is just 2 kilometers away from our institute. And the overall plan is to really to have a very judicious and scientific way of utilizing the water. So this is how we are trying to augment water resources. Now the next question comes, how to utilize them judiciously. One example I give before you. These are the top of the sand dunes, and then look at the innovations farmers are adopting in these examples are taken from the Bikaner district, which is one of the most dry as what you have in Qatar. So you see the water being stored, and this water is a part of the canal water and part of the underground water, and then this water is being used using energy conserved by the solar panels, and then water is used using drip irrigation, which means the farmers are really making it a point that they don't waste water, and government is basically putting a lot of emphasis on the use of the water through the drip. And farmers are basically being provided a lot of government support, almost up to 85% of the cost is covered by the subsidy being given by the state government as well as by the central government. And you have a look at this, my colleague, Dr. P.C. Morana, who's participating in this program right now, he gave me this figure. And look at, these are nothing but the farm ponds. They are created using the government support by the farmer who are, and those farmers are eligible, who are basically having half hectare of the land on their name. And you see, from the 2002 onwards up to 2020, number of these farm ponds have been increased. These have been mapped by my colleague, Dr. P.C. Morana, as I mentioned, who is participating today. And you see, this is one of the most important intervention at the farming community to really increase the water productivity. And the way farmers are responding, the way farmers have adopted the government plan, and also the sensitivity to the water. This is one of the most successful story in the recent past in adoption of the new technologies as far as India is concerned. Now I come to building upon the traditional knowledge. I put before you certain good examples of this. You see, we are basically, the beauty of the Thar Desert is that this is the unique, one of the most desert of the world. The extent of the vegetation, this desert is nurturing the human population, the livestock population. This is supporting, I think you cannot think of any other desert in any other part of the world. Let it be Sahara, Australasian, Arabian, or even Syrian desert. Those deserts are not supporting that much vegetation. So fortunately, we are having grasses, shrubs, trees, and on top of that, different types of the crops. So we are following a very scientifically devised methodology in which we delineate different regions of the desert, that in which region grasses has to give more importance, in which part of the desert shrubs have to give more importance, which part trees, and which part the crop have to be cultivated. And this is what we call exactly integrated farming system. And I put before you the integrated farming has been part and parcel of the farming in Thar Desert for the centuries together. When we conducted a survey for the last 3 or 4 years, you see almost 100% of the farmers are adopting 3 things. Number 1 is the crops. Second is the perennial component in terms of the trees, what you are seeing in every field. And almost 98% of the farmers are having some livestock on their farm. So if crop fails, the perennial component of the tree, they survive, they support, they provide income to the farmer. If both things fail, then ultimately livestock component comes to the help and rescue of the farmers. That's why, in spite of the most harsh climatic conditions in Western Rajasthan, in spite of the severe drought year after year, every 3 out of 5 years is a severe drought year, but still you will not find any example in Western Rajasthan farming committing suicide because of the drought, for the simple reason that the farmers are basically depending not only on one commodity, but a combination of the commodities, and most important of them is the livestock. When everything fails, they can earn money by selling out the livestock. So what we have done, we have mapped this integrated farming system, and as a scientific intervention, we are trying to see that how a particular system of the integrated farming can be replaced with the newer technology. The component remains the same, but it comes in a modern form, which is more productive, which is more resilient, and by which farmers can increase the productivity as well as resilience. Out of this integrated farming system, as you know, are very good for this planet also. So it's a way forward to deal with the climate change, and we have mapped the whole area that how this can really contribute in mitigation of the effects due to climate change. Then we tried to see how to improve the fodder supply, because as I mentioned, the livestock is an integral part of the farming. But over a period of time, the grasslands have deteriorated because the land holding per capita of the farmers has come down, with the result that the increase in the livestock pressure, the situation of the basically grasslands has deteriorated. So as a research institute, what we are doing, we are trying to augment the fodder supply, and for that we are exploring new and newer crops. For example, one of them is that we are doing a participatory development of common property resources, which have some kind of intervention, protection, as well as reseeding. Then we are also exploring newer crops, which may sound totally alien to Thar Desert, but we are successfully able to introduce new crops in this part of the desert as well. Now coming to the natural strength, the most important intervention in the recent past is this, that we are getting a lot of basically solar radiation, highest in the country in Western Rajasthan, and we are using this green energy, which is very helpful in mitigation of the climate change. And we are basically using solar thermal devices to trap the energy. And some of the 2 or 3 examples I have shown over here, these are relevant to the livestock rearing and also to add value to the farmer harvest. This is the recent intervention where we are basically doing 3 things at a particular given point of time on a common piece of land. This includes electricity of generation, growing of the crop, and harvesting of the water which is falling in form of rains on the solar panels. That water is harvested and it is plowed back for growing of the crops. And again, we are using the most efficient irrigation method, what you call it, the drip irrigation. So if you calculate the economics of it, I think this is unmatchable. The total economics is 10 to 15 times higher than the total crop cultivation economics. So now the government of Rajasthan is basically promoting it. Government of India is also promoting it on through a particular scheme which is called as Kusum Yojana, and this is through the Prime Minister office, and the government has identified already 467 farmers till today, and we are trying to implement this Kusum project. And because of the implementation of this Kusum Yojana and our intervention that I showed you, it has a great role to be upscaled in near future. Enhancing adaptive capacity. You know, the farmers has its own perception of newer intervention that the institutes like Central Agricultural Research Institute or any other institute located in the surrounding area is basically promoting. So what we are doing, that we are enhancing the capacity of the farmer in terms of making him aware of a whole range of the technologies regarding crops, livestock, grasses, perennial trees, etc., etc. On top of that, the management of water, management of the land, management of the fodder resources, etc., etc. And then we are also trying to help farmers by providing them a kind of the advisories so that they can have a contingency kind of the planning in case we are able to forecast that this is going to be a drought year, that farmer can change the crops that he is going to cultivate on his farm. At the same time, if the drought in the mid-season, that we also offer different kind of the advisories. If the farmers are likely to get diseases during the crop season, then we are also trying to give advisories well in advance, at least 1 to 2 weeks in advance, through our well-devised system, which basically releases the advisories at least 2 times a week during the crop season. Coming to the productivity, our intervention is that we are basically providing a right choice of the combination of the crops. We chose the crop which are inbuilt capacity, which have inbuilt capacity to tolerate drought. For example, these are the two basically pulse crops. 97% of this moat bean is cultivated in Western Rajasthan. This moat bean is nothing but Bikaneri bhujia. I'm sure the people living in the Qatar, at least Indian diaspora, they must be well aware of the Bikaneri bhujia. This is completely based on this crop. This is the mung bean, and 50% area of this country is in the Rajasthan, and this is again a drought-loving crop. This 60% of the area of the country, palm millet, which is basically a nutri-cereal, and in the 2023, UN has basically declared International Year of the Millets as the year 2023. So in that year, palm millet, which is 60% of country, most drought-tolerant cereal crop, requiring 1/10 of the water than what is used by the rice. So you can imagine the choice of the crops that we are suggesting to the farming community. At the same time, not only the crops, that we are basically developing new varieties, or we are developing new crops in which we are significantly reducing the life duration of those crops. We have reduced at least by 30%, so that even if there is one important miss of one rain, the crop is not adversely affected. And we are trying to further enhance the drought tolerance capacity by our newer technologies in which we are cultivating, which are basically trying to improve the drought tolerance of the new varieties that we are developing in our institute or anywhere else. We are putting a lot of emphasis on basically, to achieve per drop more crop, and there are a lot of intervention that are basically we are promoting and farmers are adopting it, so that we can produce maximum crops which are using the minimum amount of water. Then very important thing in the recent past, that the horticulture component, you are well aware of this date palm. This is a wonderful crop in the whole Arab region, but this is really making a very important dent in the Indian Thar Desert as well. This is Indian Jujube, which is the most important, the most drought tolerant you can ever think of any horticultural crops. Pomegranate is also coming up. And if you look at the way the changes in the area and the production and the productivity, you see there's a huge amount of improvement in the last decade or so. We are also trying to help farming community to providing them the low-cost poly houses, because Indian farmers are not ready to invest too much. And with that, we are providing to them low-cost poly houses. And the way the farmers are producing the crop, it is really very interesting on the part of the adoption of the new technologies. And I will give you two examples. Rajasthan is known as the land of the seed spices. In the whole world, it has been recognized. And let me give you one example, cumin, jeera seed. I'm sure you must be, all the Indian population settled in the Qatar, they are well aware of the Indian cumin. All this cumin, almost 98% of this cumin is grown in Rajasthan and adjoining state of Gujarat. And as on today, we are basically earning a income of 33,280 million Indian rupees out of the export, which includes your Afghanistan, USA, China, Bangladesh, Egypt, and UAE. So this is the land of the seed spices. And the beauty of this crop is that it requires dry conditions, but it requires a little bit of water. And that is only available in the Thar desert. You cannot grow it in the Punjab and Haryana because it loves dry climate, but in Punjab, Haryana, humidity is very high, you cannot grow cumin. So this is a lot of blessing to the Thar farmers of India. Another example I put before you, cluster bean. This is a most drought tolerant industrial crop. More than 90% of it grown in the states of the states of the Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, and a little bit of Punjab. And again, you see its value in terms of export is almost 5,000 crore annual rupees we are earning. So these are the two most important industrial crop as well as cumin. You must be interested.
Excuse me, sir.
Only 2 minutes more.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. You might be seeing lot of sand dunes in the Qatar. We used to have a lot of sand dunes in the Thar desert, but we have stabilized them. They don't move any further. And this is the common scenario. The sand dunes have been planted using a selected species. And this is the way we are doing it. And this is the technique of the sand dune stabilization. It involves fencing, fixing barriers, and the afforestation that we are doing. And this is the #1 technology of our institute, which has a lot of relevance in the African countries and also other deserts, including the Sahara Desert and also including the Syrian Desert. And this is the impact and benefit of sand dune stabilization, that the sand dune cover has been reduced from 54% to 48%. And the arid Rajasthan has reclaimed a lot of land through the scientific intervention. Wind erosion have been reduced. And this was a common scene, what you see today in the Syrian desert, in the desert in which you are located. But right now, this scenario is completely changed. And this is a common scene in the Thar desert of India. And earlier, the sand was moving into the canal, and canal water, IGNP that I mentioned, it was not able to move freely. But this is the scene of the past, but this is the scene of today. And I would like to conclude that Indian Thar desert has shown as an example how to manage a desert, how to make it more productive, how to make it more resilient. But at the same time, new opportunities are emerging, but still more needs to be done. And the only way out to really have a sustainable development of the desert, that we need to have science-led solution for further enhancing the resilience. And with this, I thank you very much. And this is a very common scene. probably in the part of the desert in which you are living in Qatar, and part of the desert which we are living in the India, the water harvesting and a lot of small ruminants, and in the background you can see a lot of vegetation. And with this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much. I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. O.P. Yadav ji, for that insightful presentation on the experience of enhancing resolution and productivity of farming in the desert region. It was a very informational and learning curve for all of us. Thank you so much. So now we move on to our next guest of honor, Dr. Omar Farooq Pokris. He holds a master's and a PhD degree in civil and environmental engineering, where he specializes on investigating the impact of climate change. Dr. Bukharis held several research positions in North American and European renowned institutions, including the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology at Lausanne and Am, Zurich, and University of Laval, Canada. Dr. Bukharis was also the director of the International School on Research Impact Assessment, United Kingdom. Since he joined the Qatar National Research Fund, he held different management and scientific positions, including being currently the Senior Manager of Energy and Environmental Research Portfolio, where his responsibilities include developing and management of research programs related to different themes of energy and environment, supporting the Qatar Research Development and Innovation Strategy 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Dr. Omar Farooq Bukharis.
Thank you so much. Okay, let me see first if I'm able to share my screen. Okay, I think you should be able to see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Sachin Shankal, First Secretary, Education and Culture, Embassy of India in Qatar, Dr. Deepak Dahaki, President of SIF, distinguished speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. My name is Omar Bukharis, and I'm the Senior Manager of Energy and Environment Pillar at the Qatar National Research Fund in Qatar. Please bear with me. Within the next 10 minutes or so, I will take you through a few slides talking about the role of QNRF, and that stands for Qatar National Research Fund, in addressing food security in Qatar. The distinguished speaker before me, you're absolutely right. There is a lot to learn from you and from the experience in India. And I will be happy to liaise with you if you don't mind within the next couple of days. However, my presentation now will stay at higher level, system level, or you may call it strategic level, just to tell the audience about what we did strategically here to move towards being more food secure here inside the state of Qatar. So quickly, I'm going to let you know about QNRF, Qatar National Research Fund, a few slides, then the challenges faced through the topic of food security. I will end up with showing some slides about how did we try to tackle those challenges as we keep doing the work for currently and the way forward. So basically, we are a funding agency. We research, scientific research funding agency. So we do fund research on competitive basis. We're trying to enable R&D excellence in the state of Qatar to achieve a knowledge-based economy. And we do that through a multitude of funding programs that we run on competitive basis locally and internationally. Very quickly about our journey. So we are 15 years old as of 2021. We started in 2006, and we have been through major steps in establishment of different strategies, all of them under the umbrella of what we call here the Qatar National Vision 2030, and that vision that is guiding us towards a knowledge-based economy by that time, hopefully. But we have been through different R&D related strategies, QNRS, as you see there in 2012, that's Qatar National Research Strategy, and that identifies different paths and different priority areas, so to speak, of where we should focus our funding, what should we do moving forward. And the reason of which is in 2018, 2019, 2020, etc., to the right side of the screen. That's the QRDI, Qatar Research Development and Innovation Strategy. Okay, those strategies throughout the different years have identified priorities area. And as you see in the right side of the screen, energy security, water security, cybersecurity, etc., and food security features therein strongly. That topic has climbed up the ladder in the recent years due to different challenges, mainly the geopolitical ones, as you remember here in the state of Qatar. But it has been also the focus of national priority since 2008 or 2006 through the local food security program and its relation to the United Nations. So food security is an important topic that we have been dealing with for over 2 decades and will keep doing so given the importance. What you see in the right side of the screen is the recent published research and development innovation strategy that identifies here 5 major areas. Okay, energy, health, resource sustainability, society, etc., the digital technologies. These areas are interrelated and food is embedded almost in all of them. And I wanted to share this to basically show the great interest of the state of Qatar at governmental level and at strategic level that food and food security is an important topic moving forward and should be tackled from different angles and not only from the agricultural side or water side or agronomy side, no, but from all other directions, including all different technologies. Very quickly, little information on our programs here in the funding agency. So we have 3 suites of programs. The top one is the are programs dedicated to building the local capacity, human capacity, so to speak, including their human capability. So from undergrads to graduate students to postdocs to early career, etc., different funding programs, and all of them on competitive basis. Local people as well as international people can apply for that. So there we really try to build the know-how and the human capability. The middle section is the research grant. These are different grants that range from 200,000 US dollar per year to all the way to 5 million US dollar programs. And these are dedicated to resolving research challenges or major challenges that would be resolved only through research. And there is local programs as well as international programs. I'll be happy to talk about them in future discussion if you wish. And the bottom side is a set of research connections where we advertise, where we communicate, where we showcase the results of research and the importance really of making them implementable down the line at the level of society and policy making. So these are the 3 sets of programs that have led so far since inception to over 1.4 billion US dollar dedicated to funding locally and internationally through all the different acronyms of program that you see on the left side: undergrads, national priorities, graduate student, postdocs, personalized medicine, Belmont Forum, food security, etc., etc. These are general high-level numbers here. So as I mentioned, many of our programs are open for international collaboration, given the limited local capacity here inside Qatar. So we look for external expertise, and we touched upon all the 4 corners of the world. And as you could see, so far we are collaborating with over 700 research institutions internationally, collaborating with their peers here inside Qatar, coming from 54 countries. India has been quite active, as a matter of fact, and I wanted to show this slide that India, 10 institutions so far from India out of 18 institutions who contributed to the competitive funding. These 10 institutions have gotten funding and they are collaborating with local institutions in different engineering domain and biomedical domain, etc. And some examples of those Indian institutions. So Shell Technology Center in Bangalore, Indian Institute of Science, Indian Council of Medical Research, etc., etc. These are only a sample. And again, I will be happy to share with Dr. Tipak way more details for future collaboration, specifically after hearing the presentation of my colleague just before me. Yeah, there is a need really to liaise and to learn from you guys and to see how we can proceed with further collaboration. So basically, those few slides that I presented is to tell you that opportunities is available, and we welcome really the contribution of the know-how and the expertise from India, and we'll be happy to move on with you guys about possible future funding and specific topic of interest to both countries. Speaking about now food security and the challenges that we faced and we still facing here inside Qatar. So scalability problem. And by scalability, I mean a given solution that comes within a given context here in Qatar. Is it for a long or short term? Because we keep looking from R&D perspective, from research and development perspective, we keep looking at sort of migration of alien technologies rather than a creation or development of technologies from within the local condition, which is quite different than different other conditions on this planet. So the scalability of the problem is an issue that we have been considering. Adaptability, as I mentioned, are we adapting technology that deemed successful somewhere else could be successful here, but many of which have not really been successful whenever they are tried here. So it's adaptability versus the capacity of creating technology from within. There's the issue of capacity, as I mentioned, the local capacity, the number of people involved in this kind of research, their expertise, their level of know-how, their interaction locally and internationally, and also the issue of the factors that are real on the ground. And by that, I mean very high level figures about what's the state of Qatar is all about when you talk really about agriculture and food related topics. So in the cultivable and land cropped, we're talking basically about 12,000 hectares. It's very, very, very small, okay, comparing to the sizes that my colleague before me was talking about. And yet in that very small part of land, we talk about very arid and water scarce, poor soil quality region, very poor soil quality. This is really the very definition of desertic land, as you would imagine. In addition to that, there is a lack of expertise, know-how, and technological expertise. I'm speaking maybe 10 to 15 years ago. Okay, things have changed, as you would imagine, as we have been working so hard on this. Other indices that we took into consideration is the food security index. The word food security index that is taken into consideration factors such as affordability, availability, quality and safety, the level of production, the level of know-how in the country, where our rank worldwide and our score has been varying. We have seen quite of tremendous improvement starting from 2010, I would say. So in 2016, we are 20th worldwide, 29th, 22nd, and then we reached to the 13th level, 13th rank in 2019, being the first within the MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa region. That was quite successful, and that shows that the strategy of food security is being well implemented, and everybody on board was so happy. Come 2020, the figures went a bit down, and this is mostly attributed to the disruption of supply chain and the problem caused by COVID-19, as you would imagine. But also that stresses a lot on the fact that we still need to do so much work related really to implementing a given action or a given strategy within certain circumstances, such as the crisis of 2019, of COVID-19, right? Having said that, other factors, they weigh heavily in the realization of being a food secure country. Socio-economic, social, behavioral, educational factors, all of these, they count, and you know, sometimes there are a tendency to kind of discard them, whereas they are very important. So large family sizes, the geopolitical situation, the high cost, supply chain issues, energy wastes, the behavioral aspect, the social aspect, environmental issues, etc., etc. All of these have been also taken into consideration as we have been setting up updated strategies of food security and related funding programs. Hence, we have been working closely with our colleagues at the Ministry of Municipality and Environment, and these are the colleagues who are mandated to setting up and implementing the food security strategy of the state of Qatar. That strategy has been updated recently within its short term between 2018 and 2023, and it is built on a four-pillar aspect: international trade and logistics, domestic self-sufficiency, strategic reserve, and the domestic market. So international supply chain and local supply chain, but there's plenty of emphasis on the local production. This is huge in terms of really building the know-how locally instead of really bringing food from outside, specifically when it's disrupted due to crisis, geopolitical situation. We can no longer afford that kind of thing. We think R&D heavily plays in all of these four factors, mostly in the domestic self-sufficiency or the local production, as you would wish. And that's why we created a funding call solely dedicated to funding these topics and bringing solutions to the problem that we face here. This funding call is called the Food Security Call. It is jointly funded by us and the Ministry of Municipality and Environment, whereby we call for the expertise locally and internationally to apply and to come with solution in specific dedicated area. The call has seen 3 cycles. What you are looking at now on the screen is the last cycle, and it has identified priority areas such as assessment of local food supply chain and provide practical solutions to problem faces, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture, innovative practice for production of strategic crops and the mitigation of control of pests, and the development of highly productive healthy farm animals and combating epidemics. Okay, similar specific dedicated areas have been subject of the second call and the first call of the same funding program. Local food production, strengthening resilience among people and systems, supply chain, community initiative, policy and legislation. As you see here, we're not only talking about agriculture or engineering aspect, but rather also the social aspect and the policy aspect, which we think is very, very, very important. So these calls are quite recent, I would say. Okay, we are still young in time, and we are committed to keeping funding this kind of topics moving forward till 2030 and beyond, even 2030, beyond the Qatar National Vision 2030. This is absolutely very, very important. But we keep also looking at self-sufficiency indicators, or let's call them key performance indicators when it comes to food security. What you see in the screen here are examples of some projects that have been funded through what I just mentioned. These are the titles of some projects, and these are projects that are again collaborative between local researchers, local institutions, as well as international institutions. And I'm sure some of them do include collaborators and researchers from India. But we need to further enhance that collaboration and that know-how and learning process with you guys. A quick information of some programs that we think R&D has contributed a lot. So in some commodities and vegetables, red meat, chicken, etc., where the self-sufficiency rate used to be in 2018 and how we look like currently in 2021. So actually in the chicken and the dairy, we are finally self-sufficient. We're happy for that. And actually in the dairy products, we start even exporting outside. We're still working a lot in the fodder, specifically using the treated sewage effluent due to the lack of water. As my colleague mentioned, we don't have water here totally. So we are actually either using the treated sewage effluent or desalinating water from the sea.
Thank you, Dr. Omar, for the presentation on the role of QNRF in the addressing the food security in Qatar. Much appreciated. Can you remove, yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, before we move on to the question and answer session, there is an announcement to make on two upcoming events. The first one is a teachers empowerment program under the Learn with the Leaders series for science and maths teachers on designing quality questions. That is a multiple choice question. So this program is in association with the Science India Forum GCC chapters and Quantum World India, and the event is scheduled on 23rd October 2021. The registration link will be available on the website. And the second announcement is there is a ICBF insurance scheme available for all the Indians residing in Qatar. This is an exclusive life insurance scheme for the Indian nationals with valid Qatar residence permit. It offers coverage of Qatari riyals 100,000 for a period of 2 years with a premium as low as Qatari riyals 125 riyals. The ICBF life insurance scheme is provided by Daman Islamic Insurance Company, BIMA, in association with the Indian Community Benevolent Forum. For more details, contact the WhatsApp number given on the screen. It is 7786-7794. And the collection center is the ICBF office and open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday to Thursday. What are the benefits of this insurance scheme is the covered benefits are death of any cause, whether natural or accidental, permanent total disability due to any cause, permanent partial disability due to any cause, and the sum assured, of course, is 100,000 riyal per member. It is the conditions of eligibility are from age group 18 years to a maximum of 65 years. He should be a resident of Qatar with a valid resident permit, and all the benefits will be covered up to a maximum of the sum assured. Policy terms and conditions will be applied. So for more details, the forms will be shared in the chat box by me or by my colleague. So stay tuned. We now move on to the question and answer session that will be taken over by Mr. Chandrasekhar Sharma. Mr. Chandrasekhar, can you take up the question and answer session?
Mr. Chandrasekhar, one small announcement. As Dr. Omar is having another meeting, he will attend all the queries by email. So any questions related to Dr. Omar, we can get it cleared through email. Thank you.
Chandrasekhar ji, you are on mute. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, no, I am unmuted. I think somebody did the global mute. So thank you for removing that mute. Okay, for Dr. Omar, I will send the questions through email, but my questions are for Dr. O.P. Yadav. Thank you, Dr. Sir. First of all, before asking you a question, I must share with you my moment. Actually, I was really awestruck when you said that almost the entire cumin for most of the India and the rest of the world comes from Rajasthan. I was indeed, like this is an eye opener for me. I never knew that the jeera is coming only from Rajasthan. So it is definitely a kind of knowledge for me and information for me. Thank you so much for sharing that. The first question I have for you, Dr. is you mentioned about some sort of stark differences between the Qatar climate and the climate which you have in Rajasthan and parts of Gujarat in terms of, like the rainfall, 100 mm versus 300 to 400 mm for Rajasthan and Gujarat, and the temperature. And of course, the water, the groundwater or the water which is, used for irrigation. But my question is there any other difference in terms of, for example, the soil properties? Like, do we have the similar soil in Rajasthan and Gujarat when we compare the soil of Qatar in terms of the micro and macronutrients and other composition? So I'm just wondering that, is it the only climatic difference which is not allowing the various crops to flourish in Qatar, or there are some other differences?
No, in fact, let me correct that it's not that the whole cumin come from Rajasthan. It's Rajasthan plus Gujarat. 60% comes from Rajasthan and around 40% comes from Gujarat.
Okay.
As far as soils are concerned, you see, within Thar Desert, there's a huge amount of variation in nature and the quality of the soil in India. That much variation you will not find in Qatar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in some of the soils in Thar Desert are very fertile, especially in parts of Junjunu, Nagaur, and parts of Jodhpur. Okay, but those are technically we call it loamy soils. But loamy soils are very, very rare in Qatar. Number one. Number two, the nutrient deficiency is more intense in Qatar than it is in Thar Desert. And of course, you see, unless you map the soils repeatedly over a period of time, so I don't have information that much right now what is the nature and properties of the soils in Qatar. But as far as Thar India is concerned, there is still within that Thar lot of variation, not only in the properties, but also in the nutrients content and their deficiency and the degree of deficiency. So there's huge amount of variation.
Right. So when it comes to nutrients, they can be actually made up by putting some sort of fertilizers, macro and micronutrients, or can always be, we can supplement them.
Oh yes, definitely we can, absolutely.
So, but as you said, the other part is like the fertility of the soil itself is a challenge here in Qatar. So if the soil itself is not fertile, then even adding the nutrients externally may not help the crops.
No. Soil fertility means, by definition, means its ability to be productive, which will again depend upon the nutrients that are either inbuilt or they can be supplied from the external sources.
But does that mean that we can, let's say, for example, we want to grow some certain pulses? I mean, right now, when I looked at the presentation made by Dr. Omar, it says only vegetables are being grown. in Qatar, but there is no mention about other food grains. And I'm sure, for example, we cannot produce rice here. There's no question we can't produce wheat here. But maybe there are some other crops. For example, if I have to compare between the crops which you're producing in Rajasthan and Gujarat, in particular, all the millets. Is there any possibility of producing the millets in Qatar? If we can?
In fact, it should be, because you see some of the legumes or the pulses you may call are so much drought tolerant that even if they get a one or two rains within the season, they will be through. So of course, the other things are also important. Say, for example, salinity level of your native soils. If the soils are saline, which is most likely to be, then you cannot grow the legumes over there. So it's not only about the nutrient status, the other attributes, what you call technically the EC, electrical conductivity, which is the measure of the quantity of the salts that are available in the soil profile. Inbuilt, or they can be supplied from the external.
Okay. There's another question from one of our colleagues. There's one of our participants that he has come to know that there is a plan to grow saffron in Qatar, wherever the land is arable, I would say. Is there any sort of similar projects being undertaken in Gujarat and Rajasthan?
No, actually, there's a lot of confusion between saffron and safflower. There were some reports in the Indian newspaper that some farmers have successfully cultivated saffron in Rajasthan and Gujarat. In fact, that is not saffron. Saffron in India is only cultivated in Kashmir.
In Kashmir, yes, I know that.
Kashmir,
yes.
okay. And the part that is used is the stamen of the flower. So which means it's a very minuscule part of the whole plant. Okay, part of the flower. What there were reports, it's a safflower. It's a basically oilseed crop out of which Saffola brand oil is produced. Okay. Saffola. Okay. It is a safflower. So you cannot think of growing saffron either in Rajasthan, Gujarat. I'm not sure about Qatar, but definitely it requires very, very cool climate. And the rest of the things I don't have definite answer for Qatar, but in Rajasthan and Gujarat, absolutely impossible.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I think these were the two main questions for Dr. for yourself. So thanks for answering them. Ravi, I don't have any further questions.
Yeah, Chandrasekhar ji, I think we have a question in the chat box, and I believe this is for Dr. Omar, though he has not written whom it is directed to. But he says that they are having a school nutritional garden at the MES Indian School maintained by the Green Ambassadors under the Campus Care Force group of the school, a Green Force. So is that a question or a statement? Please, can you speak up?
Sir, good evening to everyone. Sir, this is not a question. I just supported that here in Qatar, we have in schools, students under the guidance of teachers, we are maintaining a school nutritional garden. So here also vegetable garden is possible. I just wanted to mention along with your points.
But thank you, Raviji. Is Dr. Omar still around, or you want me to flip the questions through email to him?
Yeah, I think as our president said, I think you can just redirect the questions to Deepak ji, and then he will get it answered.
Okay, I'll forward the question to Deepak sir, and then he can definitely forward it to Dr. Omar. Yeah.
Okay, I think Yadav ji is getting late. It's almost 8:40, 10:40, I believe, in India.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's time to wrap up. And if there are no more questions, I will hand over the control to Mr. Srinivas Oruganti to express the vote of thanks. Srinivas.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi. Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening to all. This is Srinivas Oruganti to propose the vote of thanks for the evening. At the outset, we thank you. We thank His Excellency, Dr. Deepak Mittal, the Ambassador of India to Qatar, for his continued support and patronage and constant guidance provided to Science India Forum Qatar. We're also thankful to the entire staff of Embassy, ICC, for the continuous support and guidance. We thank our today's chief guest, Mr. Sachin Dinkar Shankpal, First Secretary, Education and Culture, Embassy of India, Qatar, for making today's event more special with his gracious presence and giving valuable time from his busy schedule. We are grateful and highly motivated by your encouraging words, sir. We extend our sincere thanks to today's first eminent speaker and guest of honor, Dr. O.P. Yadav, Director ICAR, Central Arid Zone Research Institute, India, for enlightening us on desert agriculture and food security in arid region, challenges faced in Thar deserts, and the distinctive advantages and opportunities. We are thankful to today's second eminent speaker and guest of honor, Dr. Omar Farooq Bokharis, Senior Manager, Energy and Environment, Qatar National Research Fund, for enlightening us with his views and the role of QNRF in addressing the food security in Qatar and the strategy to move forward. We extend our sincere thanks to our SIF Qatar founder member, Sri Shashidharanji, for inspiring us by the insight of our former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, sir. We thank and acknowledge the gracious presence of various dignitaries, scientists, academicians, apex body presidents, school principals, teachers, students, and SIF GCC region dignitaries. We are thankful to the press media, the Gulf Times, Qatar Tribune, and the Peninsula for the responsive coverage of Science India Forum Qatar events. Last but not the least, we are very thankful to our sponsors, our platinum sponsors, Qatar Design Consortium, our golden sponsors, Orient Trading Company Limited, and our silver sponsors, LG Jumbo, AIMIC, our event manager, logistics support provided by Vibrant Engineering Industrial Safety Training Academy. So I'm sure without the support, such events may not have been possible. Thank you one and all for your valuable participation and have a great evening ahead. Over to you, Dr. Mr. Ravi.
Thank you.